Alright, Forged in the Barrens is dropping today, so before it releases, let's see if we can speed run a card review real quick. We're going to go through all 135 cards and rate them on a scale from 1 to 4, 1 being will not see play, 2 is like might see play, fringe play, or like played in a really bad deck or something. 3 stars is a card I do expect to see play, and 4 star is a card that will see a lot of play, it's probably broken, it's going to go in a lot of decks. So, alright. We're going to start with Demon Hunter, and we're going to start with Deathspeaker Blackthorn, which is 1 star, because I do not have faith in the Death Rattle Demon Hunter archetype. And Razorbore, 1 star, because I don't have faith in the archetype. Razorfin Beastmaster, 1 star, because I don't have faith in the archetype. Vengeful Spirit, 1 star, because I don't have faith in the archetype, and even if I did, the class has better card draw, and it's also just hard to outcast a 4-mana thing. Tuskpiercer, really good card, but 1 star because Demon Hunter has no death rattles and has better card draw. Next up, Curtrice Asheville, and I like this card a lot. In a deck that has a low enough curve that it can consistently outcast this card, it's really strong. Fury, 3 stars, it's basically just a replacement for Twin Slice, it's good for board control in the early game, and it goes face pretty hard when you're trying to kill the opponent. Sigil of Flame, 3 stars, seems like slow Demon Hunter decks like Soul Fragment Demon Hunter and the Lifesteal deck would appreciate a Doomsayer that the opponent cannot interact with. Sigil of Silence, 1 star. It seems like pretty much all this does is set up to push through taunts, and I think Kane kind of takes care of that and is a better card. And finally, we have Vile Call, 1 star. I just don't really see why Demon Hunter would spend 3 mana making 2 2/2 minions. So moving on to Druid, we start with Razormane Battleguard. 3 stars, I think this defines the Taunt Druid Swarm archetype thing. Mark of the Spike Shell, 3 star, goes in the Battleguard deck where you're playing a bunch of cheap taunt minions. Thorngrowth Sentries, 3 stars, it just replaces Dreamway Guardians in Token Druid. Thickhide Kodo is going to be 2 stars. I could see this maybe being played in the Battleguard deck just because it's a good taunt minion. It's also like kind of fine to pull off Guardian Animals, so there are a few Druid decks that could play this card. I think it's just a high power level card. Plague Maw the Rotting, 1 star. It's bad if we're trading in our cards to take advantage of it, and if we try to just hide it behind taunts, it's just going to get removed, so it's just kind of bad. Pride's Fury, a very hesitant 1 star, but I think I decided that I just think Soul of the Forest is a better card. Guff Rune Totem, 3 stars. Druid has a lot of cheap nature spells, they have a lot of ways to swarm the board, so it should be pretty easy to get buffs out of this card. Druid of the Plains, 3 stars. It's the best thing to play after overgrowthing on turn 4 and going up to 7 mana. Living Seed, 1 star. I want to pull my beasts with Guardian Animals, not this card. And finally, Celestial Alignment, 1 star. Seems like you ramp into this, and then you just throw that all away by resetting the mana and even giving your opponent the initiative. So yeah, not a big fan of Celestial Alignment. Next up, Hunter, we have Barak Kodobane. 1 star. I do not have faith in Hunter playing all these spells, and I think the 3 mana slot is too weak for this card to see play. I think Mancrick with this is a meme. Kolkar Packrunner, 1 star. No faith in Spell Hunter, and I think other Hunter decks have better 2-drops. Wound Prey, 1 star. No faith in Spell Hunter. Tavish Stormpike, 3 stars. This card is just pretty good. You play it on turn 3 when you just have like a 2-mana beast in play and attack with it, or you can combo it later in the game with like rush and charge minions. It's just a good value card. Tame Beast, 3 stars. Playable on turn 2, but once it ranks up, it's really insane. 2-mana 4/4 rush, and it combos with Tavish. And you can even draw it with Barak if I'm wrong about that card. Sunscale Raptor. It's basically a Dire Mole. I don't care about the text on the card, I just want to play Dire Mole and Hunter. Pat Kodo, 3 stars. It's just a good Hunter card. It's good value generation in a class that can use it. Pretty good to just play on curve and Hunter decks. Warsong Wrangler, 1 star. I have no faith in Dire Frenzy memes, and I think in other archetypes this is just too expensive for what it does. Piercing Shot, 3 stars. Decent removal spell, and Hunter is probably going to need damage to finish games. Finally, Prospector's Caravan, 1 star. It's a 2-mana 1/3 that needs to survive a turn. So moving on to Mage, we start with Mordresh Fire Eye. I like this card a lot, 3 stars. I think you build your control mages with this card in mind. Reckless Apprentice, 3 stars. It supports Mordresh, and on its own, I think it's just a good card. Wildfire, 3 stars. Supports Mordresh and Reckless Apprentice, and on its own, it provides some reach to go with those. Varden Dawngrasp, 3 stars. Frost Nova on a stick is a pretty good card. Flurry, 1 star. It just doesn't do enough to warrant being included in the deck. Rhyme Tongue is a 1-star card. It works with a very limited number of mage spells, and even then, 1 mana, 1/1 freezers aren't that good. Refreshing Springwater, 3 stars. If you can make this 0 mana draw 2, it's really insane, but even at 2 mana draw 2, it's pretty good, and I think most mage decks can make it at least 2 mana draw 2. Runed Orb, 3 stars, just a good card. It gives you some damage, and it gives you some value. What more could you ask for in mage? Oasis Ally, 1 star. I just couldn't find a deck that wanted to play this secret, even with Arcanologist. And finally, Arcane Luminary, 1 star. I saw the failure of Leyline Manipulator, so I do not believe in this card. Moving on to Paladin, we have Sword of the Fallen. 4 stars, really insane card. It's a bunch of tempo, it's a bunch of value, it's card draw, sets up for your other stuff. Insane card. Northwatch Commander, 3 stars. It's always going to be active because you play Sword of the Fallen on turn 2. Cannonmaster Smith, 3 stars. It's always going to be active because you play Sword of the Fallen on turn 2. And it's just an insane bomb at the end of the curve. Galloping Savior, 3 stars. You play this in your Sword of the Fallen deck. It's a pain in the ass to play around, and even if they do, it activates the previous 2 cards. Cariel Rome, 4 stars. It's good just based on stats and keywords, but then for some reason it discounts all your cards, so really good. Knight of Anointment, 4 stars. Novice Engineer for half as much mana, and all of Paladin's relevant spells are holy. Conviction, really good card. It's going to be 1 mana, deal 6 damage pretty often, which is really good. Veteran War Medic, really good card, 1 star, because I just don't think it's going to make the cut in Paladin decks. They just have so much insane stuff to do instead. Invigorating Sermon, 1 star. I think it's just too slow, comes down too late in the game. Yeah, I just don't think it's going to be too effective. And finally, Soldier's Caravan is a 2 mana 1/3 that has to survive a turn, so 1 star. Moving on to the Priest class, we have Zyrella. 3 stars. I think she's just a really good board clear at pretty much all points in the game. Desperate Prayer, 3 stars. I think this is going to see play because it supports Zyrella, it supports Priest of Banshee, and it's just like a good anti-aggro thing that Priests can play. I think they can get away with playing such a low value card because it's so good. Or combos with cards that are so good. Priest of Banshee, 3 stars. I actually like this card a lot. It's just like a big ass thing you can play in Priest, and I think it's fine to just play it as a 5 mana 5/5 sometimes, so I like this card. Light Shower Elemental, 3 stars. It's just a lot of stats and a lot of healing on a minion, so I think Priest likes that. Also has some N'Zoth synergy. Void Flare, 3 stars. It is a 4 mana Dynamatic that can potentially be even better, so good card. Power Word Fortitude, 1 star. Not sure what Priest deck can play this many spells and also finds the buff to be relevant. Devouring Plague, 3 stars. I actually really like this as a removal spell. Seems like it kills a lot of boards, the lifesteal is a nice touch. I think it's just a good card. Condemn, 1 star. Priest got several AoEs in this set, and I think this is the worst one. 2 mana deal 1 is just bad, and then by the time you rank it up, it's still like kind of not a great breakpoint, so I don't like it too much. Serena Bloodfeather, 3 stars. This is a really unique sort of removal thing, and I think Priest is just fine playing that. It's a weird card, but I think it makes the cut. And then finally, Soothsayer Caravan, 1 star because I said the word Caravan. Moving on to Rogue. We have Paralytic Poison, 1 star. Imagine ever attacking a minion with your weapon. Silverleaf Poison, 1 star. Rogue has better card draw. Swine Tusk Shank, 1 star. It's just worse than Self-Sharpening Sword. Apothecary Hellbrim, 1 star. It's Zeril that gives you worse cards. Efficient Octobot, 4 stars. It's a 2 mana Emperor Thorson, so yeah, it's probably going to get nerfed to have 3 health or something. Field Contact, 3 stars. I think the card's a bit overrated. It's a little bit like, I don't know, I just think it's hard to get like too much out of it. But it probably draws too many cards to be a bad card, so 3 stars. Wicked Stab, 4 stars. I think this card is better than Eviscerate most of the time, especially in a face deck. Scab's Cutter Butter. I'm gonna give this 3 stars. I think it's just a really good amount of cheating for Rogue. A lot of people seem to think it's not quite worth it, or that Kazakus is better, but I'm a Scabs fan. Oil Rogue Ambusher is usually going to be a 4-mana SI7 agent, so 1 star. And Yoink, also the 1st of stars, because only like 2 of the hero powers are decent, you don't get them every time, and even then they're not that good. Moving on to Shaman. Firemancer Flurgle, 3 stars. I've decided that I have faith in Murloc Shaman, and Altruist was a good card, so it's probably good if it costs half as much. Spawnpool Forager, 3 stars. Murloc Shaman, thumbs up, and this is just a lot of stats on a 1-drop. South Coast Chieftain, Murloc Shaman card, it's a good one, and kind of like SI7 agent for 1 less mana, I guess. Nothing Can Stop Us, Murloc Shaman, good, 3 stars. And this is actually just an insane buff. 3 mana to give your stuff +2/+2 is really strong. This card probably carries Murloc Shaman. Tiny Fid's Caravan, 1 star because it's a Caravan. Lilypad Lurker, very hesitant 1 star, but I just don't have faith in the elemental synergies, and this is a really telegraphed elemental synergy. Arid Stormer, 1 star, again, no faith in the elemental synergies, just not sure what deck wants to play them, and I don't think they are their own deck. Earth Revenant, 1 star, no faith in elemental synergies, and I just can't really see this seeing play on its own, and it doesn't really make sense in any of the Shaman decks that seem good to me. Chain Lightning, 3 stars. I think it's just a pretty solid turn 2 removal thing, and yeah, just pretty solid at killing a couple things. And finally, Brukan, 3 stars. Shaman has a lot of nature spells, some of them go face, some of them clear the board, and what more could you ask for out of a spell damage minion? Really good card. Moving on to Warlock, we have Niru Fireblade. 1 star, milling your own deck seems really bad. The payoff doesn't quite seem worth it compared to like Nomi. And sometimes when you're milling your deck, you just mill your payoff card, which seems really terrible. Altar of Fire, 1 star, you're not going to want to mill your own deck, it just seems really bad. Soulrend, 2 stars. Milling your own deck is not a good archetype, but I think this can see play outside of it because 4 mana deal 5 to everything is a really strong board clear, and I think it's not that big of a deal to mill a few of your cards in a normal game. Just going to depend on if this breakpoint of damage is needed. Barrens Scavenger, 1 star. Pretty good when it's active, but I don't think it's active often enough, especially with Soul Fragments in the meta. Bloodshard Bristleback, really good when it's active, but I don't think it's active enough, especially with Soul Fragments in the meta. Grimoire of Sacrifice, 3 stars. I actually think Zoo could potentially play this with some of their egg stuff, and I think Control can play it with like Tour Guide, stuff like that, and also maybe Explosive Sheep, so I like the Grimoire if the board clear is needed. Tamsin Roam, 3 stars. Just a really good value thing. You can use it to get whatever kind of shadow spell is appropriate for the matchup. Really nice card. Cabal Outfitter, 3 mana, 5/5 for Zoo. Really good card, 3 stars. Imp Swarm, 1 star, because none of the levels give you enough stats. And finally, Apothecary's Caravan, 1 star, because it is a Caravan. Alright, we're on to our last class, which is Warrior. Outrider's Axe, 3 stars. I think this weapon is slightly overrated because it competes so much with Sword Eater, and it's not always that easy to kill stuff on this turn, but it's still really, really strong. Probably going to go in all of your Warrior decks. Part of the reason for that is Morshan Elite, which is 4 stars. You have enough weapons to be playing them to be played on turn 4. This is pretty much always active, and it's a shitload of stats for 5 mana. Overlord Sourfang, 3 stars. It's just a lot of stuff on turn 7. You can do some pretty fancy effects with this, summoning more stuff, or killing some stuff, or drawing some cards. I think most Warrior decks are going to attempt to incorporate this, and they may or may not be successful. Stonewall Anchorman, 3 stars. Really good with Sourfang, good with some Menagerie stuff, maybe N'Zoth. Compared to Big Ol' Whelp, seems like a pretty decent card in its own right. Whirling Combatant, 1 star. I don't think I like this too much with Sour Fang, and I don't see where else I would play it. Warsong Envoy, 1 star. Hesitant on this, but I think any deck that would want to play this would rather play Sour Fang, and I think this is worse than Sour Fang, so I think he wins out. Rokara, 3 stars. I think it's just a solid rush minion for your Stage Dive package, which I think Warrior will want to incorporate. Ranker, 2 stars. Very solid board clear, but it's going to depend a lot on whether or not this breakpoint is relevant, and it's obviously only going to be relevant in a Control Warrior. Bulk Up, 1 star. Good meme with Morshan Elite, but I don't think you need it. That card is broken enough on its own. And Conditioning doesn't do enough on turn 2 and is too slow by the time you upgrade it. Alright, moving on to neutrals, and our pace is insane. Kindling Elemental, really good card, but 1 star because there's no elemental stuff worth playing. Farwatch Post, 3 stars. I think you just play this on turn 2 and your opponent's pretty upset. I think you try this out in pretty much every deck and it's definitely going to stick somewhere. Hecklefang Hyena, 1 star. It doesn't do enough damage to offset how much damage it does to you. Lushwater Mercenary, I have faith in Murloc Shaman, and this is a 2-mana 4/3 in that deck. Lushwater Scout, 3 stars. I have faith in Murloc Shaman, and yeah, this is just good in that deck. Oasis Thrasher, 3 stars. I think you try this out in pretty much every aggro deck, and it'll probably stick in some of them, at least Hunter. Peon, 1 star. Seems like a bad wand maker. Talented Arcanist, 3 stars. Seems like it makes sense in a lot of classes. Maybe Mage, maybe Shaman, and maybe Lifesteal Demon Hunter. Just seems like a good card. Toad of the Wilds, 2-mana 2/4 Taunt. I think you at least play this in the Taunt Druid deck with the Taunt Warper guy. Barrens Trapper, 1 star. I don't think the current card pool supports this card, basically. Crossroads Gossiper. That's going to be 3 stars. I think I want to play this in Paladin, because with Sword of the Fallen, this is very consistently a 3-mana 6/5, which is a lot of stats. And the other secret classes might also be interested. Death's Head Cultist, 2 stars. I think it's just kind of like a fine taunt minion that you want to play in a control deck if you're dying too much. And, you know, maybe the taunt and death rattle synergies are relevant. Hog Rancher, 1 star. It's kind of like SI7 Agent, but with 1 less health. Horde Operative, 2 stars. Definitely just a hard tech card. If there are a lot of secrets, you consider playing this. If there's not, you don't. It doesn't really solve the secret problem, but it makes your opponent have to deal with that problem as well. Mancrick, 1 star. I think trying to draw this with Barak is kind of a meme, and I don't think any other deck can draw consistently enough for this to be worth it. And in like Face Rogue, I think you can just play a better 3-mana card. Morshan Watchpost, 3 stars. Similar to the other Watchpost, I think you just try this out in pretty much every deck. It's really annoying for the opponent to deal with, and some deck it'll be correct to play it in. Ratchet Privateer, 1 star. It's pretty solid, but can't really figure out what deck would want to play this, and it competes with Toxicologist. Sunwell Initiate, 2 stars. The card is pretty powerful. It's a huge pain to kill. It's kind of hard to imagine a deck playing this, but I think I got baited by a Tempo Warrior that wanted to use Sour Fang with this card. Venomous Scorpid, 3 stars. It's very likely to 2 for 1, and I think most control decks are just like pretty interested in trying this out. Blademaster Samuro, 3 stars. I think it's really good to Stage Dive, maybe with Survival of the Fittest. Let's go to some Paladin buffs, maybe go to the Apotheosis. It probably ends up being good enough somewhere. Crossroads Watchpost, 1 star. I think this is the worst Watchpost. It's a lot easier to just ignore than the other ones. You have to have a board for it to be relevant, and I think Cult Neophyte messes with spell classes better than this does. Darkspear Berserker, 1 star. The only place I could really see wanting to play this is Death Rattle Demon Hunter, which is not good enough, I think. Gruntled Patron, 1 star. I just can't see a deck that's going to be able to frenzy this consistently enough. It I don't think I have faith in Patron Warrior as much as I would love for it to happen. Injured Marauder, 1 star. There's no way to cheat this out or heal it for cheap. That's what you would need for this to be playable. Kazakus, 3 stars. I don't totally love this card, but it is probably going to be good enough somewhere. And yeah, it goes in different archetypes. It'll stick somewhere, but I'm not sure that you are cutting too many 4s for it. South Sea Scoundrel, it's just a 4-mana 5/5, 1 star, probably. There's no deck that really wants to just play a pile of vanilla stats. Spirit Healer, 1 star. There's just no deck that can play enough holy spells and cares about this kind of effect. Barrens Blacksmith, hesitant 1 star, but I think it's just a little bit too difficult to activate it. The earliest you can really do it in most cases is turn 6, which is going to be a little bit slow, I think. Burning Blade Acolyte, 1 star. You have to play a 5-drop and then kill it off before you get like pretty good stats. It's just too slow. Gold Road Grunt, 1 star. It's the Frenzy often just doesn't get you much, and other than that, it's just a 5-mana 3/7 taunt, which isn't too impressive. Razormane Raider, 1 star. It's just kind of a vanilla 5-drop. Can't really see what deck I would want to play this in. Shadowhunter Vol'jin, 1 star. I just don't really think there's that much stuff that we want to be sapping for 5 mana, and there's also not really stuff that we want to be cheating out ourselves, so not a big fan. Torajo Brave, 1 star. It's just a little bit too expensive, and I feel like the opponent has too much influence over the Frenzy, unless you're just like pen flingering this, which is really expensive. Cargill Battlescar, 3 stars. I already want to try jamming watch posts in pretty much every deck. They will be good enough somewhere, and when they're good enough, then this guy is good enough because he's a ton of stats on turn 7. And finally, Primordial Protector, 2 stars. The only place I can really see this being played is in Survival of the Fittest Druid, and even in that deck I think it's a bit greedy, so I'm not entirely sure that it will make the cut. So yeah, that's it. 2142, not bad. I was hoping for a sub 20, but not bad for a Forged in the Barrens PB.